Good morning, College Park fourth graders. Mr. Guyton here. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Hopefully, welcome back to our Google Classroom. Remember, click on that link down there into the description and get yourself set up. If you don't have a Google Classroom code, that's okay. Reach out to your classroom teacher. We've been trying to get in touch with you, and we'll give you the class code and get you all squared away. In the meantime, today's Friday, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. I wrote my goal for the day, and hopefully you've written yours too. If not, hit the pause button right now and get started on that goal. Mine is, just for today, I will enjoy some time spent drawing. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So as with all our activities, we're going to start by finding our focus. And to do that, we want to eliminate any distractions. Anything we're not going to use, well, let's get rid of it for now. So we're not going to need a plant, although it's kind of nice looking. We won't be snacking. We're going to use our markers, but a little later on. We don't need those just yet. In fact, we don't even need our notebook. So let's get rid of that. All we're going to need is a single note card, 2 pencils with good erasers, and our goal. Just for today, I will enjoy some time spent drawing. Oh, that's so nice. We're going to be drawing an owl today, but not just any owl. We're going to put him into a little cactus. So we're going to start out by just creating the basic form of our cactus. It's going to look something like this. I'm going to do a couple parallel lines. We're going to have maybe one branch coming off about here. We'll stagger it a little bit. We'll put another branch around here. By the way, this is an example of the rule of thirds. If we do the 2/3 here and 1/3 there, and then there you go, that's where the other one starts. Something very small. If you didn't stay with me on that one, it's okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to pull the arm of this one up here, pull the arm down this way, and so far everything's going to be right angles. Nothing too crazy. Okay, we're going to clean everything up a little bit later on. You say, well, how on earth are you drawing an owl? Oh, we'll get to it, don't worry. Okay, let me pull this up a little higher here. Round it off a little bit. Okay, now's when we got to start shaping this thing. So again, nice and loosely, you're going to be holding your pencil. And make sure that your strokes are nice and light, because we're going to come in here with the eraser in just a moment, and we're going to shape all this stuff back up. Now, I apologize ahead of time. I'm not used to talking while I'm drawing, and so if I go rambling on, forgive me. All right, I'm going to round this off here, just like that. Just give it a little bit of shape. And I think this one's actually going to cut into the main trunk of this cactus here. Okay, and then the opposite's true for this one. This one's going to it's going to make it seem like the cactus is it's like twisted a little bit. Okay, like we're not looking at it head on. Because very rarely in nature, when you're looking at things, are they perfectly symmetrical, or are they nice and tidy and neat? For whatever reason, we want to make things look that way, but if you go out there to a park or something, you'll find that that's rarely the case. Things are usually pretty messy. There we go. However, that said, there are a lot of patterns that you'll find in nature. And in fact, if I can remember, I'll post a little link here in the video that a friend of mine did a long time ago. He talks about mathematics and nature. He talks about Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, lots of really cool things. And what's more is he's got some really cool artistic representations of those things. But anyway, oh, I wanted this one, the trunk, to come straight down like this. Okay, that's looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to put a little hole for our owl. Our owl's going to be staying here in the cactus. I'm going to put him right in here. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind. We'll finish him up in just a few minutes. I also like to, I want to throw on like a little flower or two on here. Okay, we're going to pretend that this is like a cactus that's blooming here after maybe some monsoon rains that they have out there in the desert. Let's see here. There we go. One there. And again, I'm making this probably a little bit more symmetrical, a little neater than it would be in real nature, but it's okay. I realize I'm also going kind of fast. If this is the first time you've ever drawn a cactus before, feel free to just go back and rewatch the video. That's fine. Pause the video at any point. I'm gonna draw these little pleats. So this is something that's really cool about cactuses, cacti, as people say. So you'll notice if you look at most of them, most cacti, they actually have pleats. So it's like there's folds in their trunk and in their branches. Now this is a really cool thing. So in the desert, water's kind of hard to come by. And so when it rains, you want to make sure that if you're an animal or a plant, that you're ready and you can take up as much of that water as possible. Well, the way that these cacti do it is by actually having like an expandable body, an expandable trunk. So these pleats, they'll actually fold out when the rain comes so that they can take on, 2, 3, 4 times their mass in water. It's really amazing. It's something similar to whales. If you look at the bottom of whales, like their throat, they have these things called ventral pleats, and the ventral pleats are those folds, and that allows them, at least the baleen whales, what they call mysticeti whales, they can expand their throat so they can take in these vast amounts of krill and plankton, all the zooplankton and phytoplankton, all that good stuff. But in any event, again, like I said, when I'm drawing, I'm not usually talking, so I'll get to rambling here. In any case, I think our cactus looks pretty good at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there, and we'll add in a few more details when it comes time to using our pen. So let's focus on our owl for now. So for our owl, he's just going to be hunkered down in here, and I'm going to draw his big old eyes. Those are kind of the first thing you notice with owls. They have these huge eyes because most owls are nocturnal, and they need to collect lots and lots of light. Here's another fun fact. So in your eye, I might butcher this here. In your eye, you have a couple sensory cells. You got rods and cones, right? But there's only so much space inside your eye there. And some of those cells, oh my goodness, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. Some of those cells are going to receive color information, and some of them are going to receive light information. And if you're an owl and you have more cells that are receiving that light information because you're looking at things late at night and there's not a lot of available light, well then your color vision is not going to be so good. So typically, and not always, but most animals that are nocturnal don't have the greatest color vision. They're in effect colorblind. However, they can see really well in the dark. Now, there are definitely some exceptions to this, and I could go on and on when we talk about sharks, and oh man, they got some crazy adaptations. Anyway, I am going on and on. Some people are probably laughing at me, and that's okay, I suppose. I like where we're at right now. It's time for us to take our pen now. So here's my pen. You can just use a ballpoint pen. I use this, it's a brush pen here. It's called, it's made by a company called Tombow, T-O-M-B-O-W, Tombow. And I like these because the harder you push down, the thicker your line becomes, and the lighter you push, the thinner your line is. So it acts kind of like a paintbrush. So I'm just going to come right in here, and I'm just going to go over the lines that I already have here. And you're going to see there's going to be a magical moment where we get rid of these lines. And it's just going to come together, and it's going to look so nice. Hopefully, right? Okay, so I'm going over these lines here. And now I'm doing this kind of fast. I would recommend going through this stuff and doing it a lot slower. Remember, the money's in the details. So if you're taking your time... Oh, my hand's shaking here too. I don't know why. If you're taking your time and you're really expressing those details, your picture is going to be phenomenal. People are just going to be wondering, how on earth did you do that? That's so great. Right? I'm going to draw my little center of my flower here. What was I talking about earlier? It was nocturnal animals and their eyesight. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? Oh goodness. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. You just are trying to fill some time here talking. This is very unnatural for me too, by the way, talking on a camera. It's fun though. I'm glad you guys are watching. Okay, now here comes our owl. I'm going to draw his little eye here. And I'm going to make him kind of cute, I think. So this little light part in the eye when I come around like that, it's called a catch light. Little tip when you're taking photos with your iPhone or whatever you're taking a photo with. Look to the eyes. If you can capture the person's eyes most accurately, your photo is going to be way better than it would if you're not paying attention to those kinds of things. And one of the things to look for is what we call catch light. That's where the light kind of reflects off the surface of the person's eye, and it can really do some wonderful things. Okay, now I'm going to do these pleats here. Come on down this way, and again, the stuff doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of going a little fast myself. I don't know about you, but I tend to have some pretty high standards when I'm trying to do something. I want to make sure it's as perfect as it can be. It's never going to be perfect, but it's always a good idea to try to strive for that. Try to be as good as you can. You're going to be better and better every single time. That said, don't be too hard on yourself either, because, you know, wherever you are, you're just still learning. There you go. Okay. Bring it on around. Hopefully you guys are having fun doing this too. Okay. Now here comes the fun. I'm going to come back through with my eraser. I have this special eraser. Kind of comes in this little cool little case here. And I'm just going to very lightly go over everything that I've drawn. And in fact, I've already gone too hard there. You can see I kind of smeared the ink. I'm trying to do this quickly. Ideally, you'd wait a little while before you do this. Make sure the ink dries. But in any case, it'll be okay because we're going to color it anyhow. So I'm coming through and I'm just very lightly erasing. You don't want to push down too hard because that's also going to smear your ink. But also it just burns up your eraser a lot faster than it really needs to. So I'm going to come in here. I'm actually probably doing this harder than I would if I was doing this on my own. There we go, that looks pretty good. I'll clear that off there. Okay, looks pretty good. Now I'm going to come back through and I'm going to add a couple little details here. We have quills or little needles on our cacti, so we're going to come through here and I'm just going to do these little dots. It's kind of like a cartoon representation of those quills. There we go, something like that. I'm not going to do them on every one. I'm just going to create like a pattern. I'll do it on every other pleat. No particular reason, just because I want to. Okay. Very excited to see what people come up with. I hope you guys are doing your own drawings and you share them with me. I've also, in a minute or two, I'll tell you about a little challenge I've got for you guys. It's going to be really cool. Oh, I went ahead and I did too many there, but you'll see. It doesn't really matter. You know, the worst case scenario, I mess this stuff up and then I just turn it into something that looks like I did on purpose. Right? I actually kind of like that at the top there, how it looks a little bit more dense. You know what? I'm going to put them everywhere. Hopefully you guys weren't crumpling up your papers. I've done that before where I'm a little too quick to give up on something. Okay, there we go. Alright. There we go. I gotta tell you, when I'm sitting here doing this and talking to myself with a camera, it makes me miss you guys at school so much more. Hope everybody's doing well. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to come back through with my markers. I'm just going to draw a little line here. Again, I'm going way faster than I would normally. Create kind of like a little bit of a pattern. There's no right or wrong to this. Again, I'm using brush markers, brush tip markers. And again, I like these because you can kind of fill a whole lot of space if you want to in one stroke. Or you can be very light with your strokes and have a really fine touch. There we go, just come around like that. Just like that. And it's okay if you go out of the line, it's not a big deal at all. I spend a lot of time with my boys drawing lately. It's not something I've always done, but it's something I found is really fun. It's just a really fun activity to do with somebody that you love. I'm mixing in different colors of green, because that's another thing. If you look out in nature, you'll notice that very rarely are you going to see one solid color. You're going to see kind of like a mixture of several different colors. I'm not going to fill it all the way in, because I'm going to add another green here in a second. I remember when I was in school, I used to have teachers that would tell me to fill in all the white space. Yeah, you know, you don't have to do that. In fact, sometimes the white space, you can use it, and it's just as important as the parts you're coloring. I learned that very early on. When I was a kid, I started playing the electric bass, and one of my teachers actually would tell me, you know, that the time you're not playing can be just as important as the time that you spend when you're playing. In other words, the silences are just as important. I feel like I should be silent right now. Okay. Come back in here. And I'm just going to go over all of this here. This, you know, kind of blend some of this stuff together. Because I didn't like how heavy-handed I was with some of the darker green. It looks a little too, like too much contrast. It'll just all kind of blend together. So kind of like this. Go over with the one lighter green, and it'll kind of mix everything. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but you get the idea. Then we come back in here. I'm going to give a nice yellow tint to the man's eyes here. Maybe it's a little girl owl. You can think of a name. I'm also going to color the flowers here in the center. The next time you see a flower, by the way, take a really close look at the center. There are some that we have down here at the beach. They're called black-eyed Susans, and they're very common in people's gardens. Anyway, if you look really closely at the center of the flower, there's this like amazing just like burst of little teeny tiny blooms within the bloom. It's unreal. It's really pretty. But if you're just walking by and you're not really taking a close look, they look pretty. Oh, yeah, those flowers are pretty. But oh my goodness, if you take the time to take that closer look, you're going to see something really amazing. Okay, let's keep going here. I think that looks pretty good. Again, I'm not going to take all day on all this stuff. Add a little bit of the purple here. Just a little hint of pink in it. I'm so excited for springtime. There's going to be so many cool flowers out there. And then maybe we'll touch up our owl here, give him a little bit of brown plumage there. What else can we do here? I'm going to give him a little yellow beak too. The orange would be best, but I don't have orange with me right now. Anyway, that looks pretty nice. I like it. I like it. Hopefully you do too. Well, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself too. Drawing can be so relaxing. Now, that's not the most exciting part about today, though. You see, I've got a challenge for you. I call it the Draw Mr. Guyton Challenge. That's right. I want you to draw a portrait of me, and then I want you to post it to our Google Classroom. Now, if you do this on or before Monday, March 30th, there's a surprise for you. You see, we don't have everybody on Google Classroom yet, and we want all of 4th grade on there. It's going to be really important for the next few weeks. All of the information for College Park 4th grade is going to be right there on Google Classroom. So if you haven't signed up yet, or you need a class code, you're having trouble signing in, reach out to your classroom teacher on email, and we'll get you squared away. Now, I need your help too. If you're out there on TikTok, Snapchat, whatever, and you see your classmates out there, and they haven't gotten on Google Classroom yet, lay into them a little bit. Get them over here. Okay, so when you do your portrait and you post it by Monday, March 30th, you can also include in there what you want me to draw for you. And I'll do it. I want to draw a picture for everyone in 4th grade. Although, that is an awful lot of drawing. That's an awful lot of erasing. But I'm up for it. I can't wait to see your portraits. Mr. Guyton here.